Hello everybody and welcome to the Spryfield Business Commission's weekly business spotlight. I'm Bruce Holland, the Executive Director of the Spryfield Business Commission, and with me today is Marshall Smith, who's a real estate agent here, a local real estate agent with Exit Realty Metro.
Hey Bruce, thanks for having me down.
Hey, it's nice to have you. So we're going to talk real estate stuff, but before we do, Marshall, just tell me a little bit about yourself so people get to know you a bit.
Sure, so actually I'm not from Nova Scotia, I'm from New Brunswick. That's where I graduated high school in 2007. I joined the Army while I was in high school, which is the eventual path that led me to Nova Scotia. I joined the Army Reserves and then Reg Force full-time in 2010, so I was stationed here down at the dockyard.
Yeah.
And I bought a house right here across the road on Danforth. And that's what introduced me to Spryfield for the first time, and I gotta say I fell in love. And so then, after about 8 years in the military, my friend introduced me to real estate and showed me what he was doing, and I job shadowed him for a bit and realized, hey, I really love working with people, so I made the big switch, and that's where I am now.
Awesome. So, how long have you been at local on Danforth?
12 years now. Yeah.
12 years.
So they just started Governor's Brook.
Yeah.
I was the first house in there, and I always preached, hey, move to Governor's Brook. It's going to blow up. It's a great area. Walking trails, Long Lake. You got the Spryfield Business Commission out here, and I guess I was right 12 years ago, but people are paying for it now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, I bet you your house went up way in value since you bought it 12 years ago. And Marshall is a on the board of directors of the Business Commission here, and he's an awesome board member. Really works hard on all our events and activities, and gives lots of input into the daily activities and the decisions of the commission. So 12 years. Well, I mean, you know, they say after 20 years you're local. So
I only got 8 to go then. I think I put my time in so far.
I think you did too, because
yeah.
you're so active and you know the Nova Scotia so well now. And you're engaged and soon to be married, and
yeah.
that's a good thing. So tell us now about the real estate industry and what you know,
Sure.
how you you got into the profession, and now how do you what recommendations do you make to people in terms of if they're thinking about buying a house?
Absolutely. So I think the first recommendation that I would make is just reach out to a realtor. Honestly, I don't think it's ever too early to reach out to a realtor. If you don't really know the path, I think, you know, we can set aside some time to chat, or with any local realtor that you find, and you know, they'll lay the path forward, because it's a big commitment. So along that is you want to make sure that you keep up with your credit score. You can download simple apps like Credit Karma. It doesn't hurt to check your credit every day. You know, pay your credit card bills on time, your power, anything that could ding your credit score. You want to keep it, generally speaking, above 600 to 650 is a great score to get you started with the banks. Of course, while you're doing that, you got to save up a couple bucks for your down payment. So I recommend at least 7 to 8% for a buffer. What's worked into that is a 5% down payment, 1.5 deed transfer tax. That's a provincial tax that's actually been raised for out-of-towners that aren't moving here and are just buying investment properties. I'm sure you've heard the extra 5%.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll elaborate on that.
Because it is an interesting topic.
Yeah, not to worry, locals. You're going to be just fine. And then on top of that, you got to get pre-approved, because interest rates are rising really quickly now. So if you get pre-approved, most banks will actually lock it in for about 120 days. You have to make sure that your closing's within that 120 days, but you know, if you look at the course of 2 months, you could be looking at an extra full % on your mortgage. Right now they're about 4%, and a month ago they were about 3%. So that's the Bank of Canada raising the overnight rate very rapidly to hedge against inflation. So.
Yeah, and not only that, I think, but whereas there's not a whole lot of product on the market, sellers are demanding quick closing dates, and if you're not pre-approved, then it's going to take you time if they accept your offer.
Yes.
You know, but you got to tell them, oh well, I need 45 days to close.
Yeah.
Then they may go to the next closest offer, right?
So basically, what he means is that the sellers are dictating the closing date. So when we write an offer, basically one thing I'll do is I'll call the agent right away and say, when does your client want to close? because we have to give that to them, because on average we're competing against 10 other offers, so we have to make it lucrative. And if you can hand a pre-approval letter over with your offer and potentially a letter introducing yourself, it just kind of makes you stand out against the rest of the crowd. So definitely the pre-approval, just call your local mortgage broker and talk to them about it. So.
Yeah, all good advice that you wouldn't normally get if you weren't using someone with your knowledge.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Bruce.
Yeah. So we talked about pre-approval, down payments, using an agent. Talk about the market a little bit, Marshall. I know that it's really tight right now because there's not a lot of product on the market. And I seen something yesterday that only about 40 new foundations were poured in March. So it doesn't sound to me like the market's going to grow very much in terms of the availability.
No, so you're talking about simple economics. It's supply and demand. The supply started to really slow down through COVID, especially, whereas I could get a new construction squeezed out in 3 to 4 months with my buyer. Now, even with the delays, I've seen 13, 14 months. So, and then also, it's less lucrative for a builder to build, because if you build today and you sign a contract today at $600,000, when you're finished in a year, that contract's worth $750,000, and those builders know they're losing out on it. For example, I know the parks of West Bedford, they were supposed to last till 2030, those lots, and they're sold out.
Yeah.
All the lots are gone. So the city is scrambling as we speak, and sort of the province as well, to identify some key areas that they're going to start rapid expansion. But for the next couple of years, I believe we're in this kind of market.
And you see, you're absolutely right. The province and the municipality are trying to figure out ways that they can help local Nova Scotians to be able to purchase a property or a home, let's say. And do you think some of these new initiatives that were announced will help that?
Yes, I think so. Personally, I like to deal with out-of-town investor clients. Don't hate me for that, but it's just part of my market. I like running the numbers. I find it exciting, and then I do some property management for them as well. But I think the 5% tax that they introduced, non-resident tax, it's deed transfer tax, so they would be looking at a total of 6.5% deed transfer tax plus the 20% down. At least it's going to hold them off for a bit, because right now they're recrunching numbers. They're wondering, maybe even looking at some other provinces to invest in. So I believe, with the spring market coming and hopefully some inventory, that local Nova Scotians should have a good opportunity to reach out to their realtor and squeeze something in before the flood comes back. Because I think a year-over-year investment, you pay the 5% deed transfer tax, but your investment grows by 15%, and any good investor can project those sort of numbers.
Yeah, well, let's hope that it does open up some new. Now, you talk about interprovincial, an influx of interprovincial people coming to the province too, and I think some of that is Nova Scotianers coming home, but I think it's also people, because they are able to work online now. And a lot of people are saying, well, I mean, let's analyze how we're living our lives and where the best place to live is. And I think we're seeing a lot of people coming to Nova Scotia, and perhaps you could talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a combination of things, and we really saw this as realtors at the start of COVID. First of all, we maintained one of the safest provinces in Canada in COVID numbers, and that did put us on the map, because we were getting constant national airtime as one of the safest places, not just in Canada, but on earth. And, that kind of, people said, oh, what's this Nova Scotia place? So that's one for sure. Number two is out of control house prices in places like the GTA, the Greater Vancouver area. For example, a semi-detached across the road might cost $550. You're going to pay 1.4, 1.6, and that's still 20 minutes to downtown Toronto. So I have a lot of clients calling me and just saying, I can't afford to live in Toronto anymore. Like you said, I've had the green light to work remote, and everybody I know is talking about this Nova Scotia place. So, in the long run, it will be a win-win for us, because more of a population, bigger workforce, and as long as the province steers us in the right direction, make sure to look after locals first.
Yeah.
So
we're no longer the best kept secret.
That's for sure. No.
We're the most well-known opportunity for people across Canada to come and live and work and play, and we see it here in Spryfield, and it's just growing exponentially. There are a number of developments going to happen in the next 5 years. I think we're going to see a doubling of residential properties
Yes.
in Spryfield on the Heron Cove Road and out towards Heron Cove. Can you talk a little bit about that and what do you think that will that help the real estate industry or market here?
I think
locally?
so. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: is 2 months ago I wrote an offer on a house, and it was in the news, and that property had 61 offers. It broke a record.
Wow.
So if you look at one house for 61 people, you still have 60 people looking. I know right now there's a bit of buyer fatigue in the market where a buyer that may have put in 5 to 10 offers, they're getting frustrated. But I'm really hoping that the city and the developers can up their game coming through COVID and, start turning these houses around a lot quicker. And I'm not blaming the developers at all. I know it's a supply chain issue globally that we're facing.
Yeah, and that's like lumber and all those components that go into a house. It's not easy, and all you need is to mess up with one, right? So if it's an electrical panel or it's some kind of a heater, or if one of those components, it delays the whole process.
Right, it will delay your occupancy permit. So I know as frustrated as we are with the builders, I don't think we should shift total blame to them. If they can't get the parts, they can't get it. But I'm hoping once things start rolling and they start pounding in these 3 or 4 subdivisions down the road, and else, I know, luckily Spryfield is a focus of the next area of development, similar to the parks of West Bedford. I know the demand will still be there.
I never thought 10 years ago I would ever see Bedford and Spryfield used in the same sentence in terms of being one of the great places to live in Metro, which is awesome to hear. And
it's exciting
to think about. And I think that the Business Commission has played a little part in making that happen in terms of what we've been able to do. And let's talk a little bit about that, Marshall, in terms of how we can improve the streetscape here that will make it even more attractive for people to come and live in Spryfield.
Absolutely. So I think there's a couple things actually, Bruce, that we have a meeting couple hours from now to talk about. One is the street beautification process. So you can pay it's $200, was it?
Yeah, $200 for a basket and a promotional sign, a hanging basket on the street, or $300 you get a big urn plus the basket. That's going really well. It's about half sold now. Good. So there's 60 opportunities in total. 24 for with the big urn flower pot, and so at least 36 with just the hanging basket and the sign.
And of course, that's been done in other municipalities. I believe Fall River
has a nice program.
And it looks
there.
incredible.
It does.
It's very
really
pleasant.
Spruces the place up and makes it look awesome. And we'll probably use those hangers for the flower baskets as we do now for Christmas wreaths or some such thing in the other seasons.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Now the other issue for us as a business district, business improvement district, is the need for more retail and office, sort of service sector, whether it's dentists or pet groomers or whatever the case might be, small stores. Can you tell me a little bit about how you think that will reflect on the market if we can improve those opportunities?
Absolutely. So I think what you're talking about there is the zoning. So right now I know that one side of Heron Cove Road is zoned primarily residential, and I don't think a corridor leading into and out of a place should be zoned, in my opinion, at least at minimum multi-use zoning, which means that you can either live in the property, live in the back, have a storefront in the front with some parking space, and of course, we're going to need to switch up the street a little bit in terms of traffic flow, of course, because it's going to get crazy once we start putting these developments in here. So there's a lot to look at in partnership with city planning. I believe Dalhousie University.
We're going to partner with Dalhousie to look at the whole streets, the land use bylaws and municipal planning strategy for the business improvement district, not for the whole district, just for our business improvement district. And we may go to the shoulders on that because we only go to Captain Spry, and we may look out a little beyond that. But I think it will benefit the opportunities. And the other thing too, Marshall, is not everybody can afford to buy a house. So we need to have mixed use properties as well, so that we can provide affordable housing.
Yes, absolutely, and that's another thing that we've been working on here as an offshoot of the Business Commission with the Spryfield Social Enterprise, and we're hoping to have some good news shortly. You know, everything's a process, but we are marching along in the right direction. That's for sure, Bruce.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And I recently hear that there's some other organizations that are looking to nonprofits that are looking to provide some affordable housing too.
Yes, great.
I'm looking forward to sharing that with our board. On Thursday we have
yes,
our Spryfield Social
meeting.
Enterprise. So, Marshall, talk to me a little bit about, you know, who you have a kind of, most real estate agents kind of have a team of people that they do referrals to, whether it's a mortgage broker or a lawyer or people who do property inspections and all that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
the importance
absolutely.
Of dealing with a realtor who has that team, so that, you know, someone who's buying knows, right? Because it is really complicated these days.
Of course, yeah. So I like to tell my clients when I first speak with them that I'm a bit of a walkaway deal. I like to be in control of everything. You know, most clients like that. Let's say 90% of them. You know, I provide the lawyer. I can put you in touch with not just one mortgage broker, because not one mortgage broker can offer all clients the best product. I have multiple mortgage brokers for every unique situation. Home inspectors, I have energy people. That's huge, especially with heat pumps with the federal rebate right now. And you know, that team that I've assembled over the last 3 years is a direct reflection of my professionalism, so I take it very seriously. So I think if you're working with a real estate agent, you know, make sure to ask them for their team, who they connect with, because you as just one person, you know, you give them, you know, one heat pump deal or one mortgage a year, whereas we could be giving them 20, and you know, that's going to get you different service. Whether that's right or wrong, it's just the way that the business world works. So
yeah, for sure.
I do have a really good team. If you need anybody, you can just let me know.
Yeah, well, certainly I know that anybody that watches this that's thinking about buying a house is probably going to give you a call. So I think other thing I think that you work in is kind of like niche markets.
Yeah.
Because you have to, I think, be very inventive these days, where the product out there is very small, and there's so many real estate agents looking for clients, both to list properties and to sell people properties.
Yeah.
You always have to be inventive and think about how you can bring in more revenue, of course. And so how do you do that?
Absolutely. So it's funny, as I was sitting in the real estate course, I thought of that. You know, I'm sitting amongst 20 applicants towards being realtors, and I thought, well, what's going to make me different? And at first, I admittedly, let me be an expert in condos. But as you get going, you kind of find what's most natural to you, and if you focus on it, of course, that's always going to be the best. So for me, I like to buy investment properties myself, you know, pick up a few along the way. That's my job. And so I love crunching numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I'm an engineer by trade. So I do pick up a lot of investment clients, out of town investment clients. And like I said, it's a walkaway deal. I do property management for them as well. So it's a lot of word of mouth amongst people out of province. In province, I'm ex-military, so I focus on those guys. I've dealt with CMHC moves, you know, which is of course the people that handle like the military moves and who pay for it. It's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of confusion and pulling teeth. So I found that. And then, you know, word of mouth, honestly, I think I maybe was talking to my mom, and I just said, Mom, you know, I don't find clients. I just make friends with people that have to buy houses. Yeah. And it's just make that relationship, you know, feel it, you know, I feel for them, walk through that path with them, and guide them and help them. And then, you know, usually, you know, if you do your absolute best, they'll just tell their friends. Yeah. That's the easiest real estate you can ever sell. Just do a good job for somebody.
Yeah, and I think that's the case in most walks of life. If you are sincere and you are honest and you do a good job for people, they will come back and they will give you referrals and tell other people. And so I want to thank you for coming in today.
Bruce.
And it's been awesome talking to you, and perhaps we can do it another day.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Wishing you all the best, and thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thanks everybody.
And we'll see you again at 12:30 for our Facebook Live, just updates. So thanks for joining our weekly business spotlight with Marshall Smith, Exit Realty. and we'll see you all next week.